So hi everyone, today we are going to configure MSTP configuration, which is the enhanced version of spanning tree protocol, and we are going to configure MSTP instances for switch 1, switch 2, switch 3 with 3 instances for VLAN 20, 30, 40, 50 and 34. Okay, so what is the process and how to configure MSTP? Let me explain the lab environment first. Okay, so you can use more VLANs. I'm going to use the sixth VLAN only. Okay, but this is switch 1, switch 2, switch 3, and as per the diagram you can see I'm going to configure the all configuration in region 1 only. Okay, you can use more than one region 2, region 3 as per the block of your network infrastructure. Okay, but you need to configure intra-region configuration whenever you have multiples of region. But here is only one region, and in region 1 there is switch 1, switch 2, switch 3. Okay, and you can see switch 1 have VLAN 2030 with MST instance 1 and MST instance 2 on VLAN switch 2, and on switch 3 you can see MST 3. Okay, and the VLAN ID is 4050 for VLAN, switch 2 in MST instance 2, and VLAN ID 34 for MST3 instances. Okay, so these are the three instances: MST1 instance, MST2, MST3. Okay, so what is the process and how we can configure this one? Okay, so let's suppose I'm going to configure the complete lab from scratch. Okay, like step by step I'm going to configure everything. So this is switch 1, and here I'm going to configure the host name first, which is switch 1, and enter do write to save the configuration for NVRAM. And now you can configure, first of all you can configure VLAN. Okay, so I'm going to configure VLAN 2030 for switch 1, right? So VLAN 20 and name, for example the name is account, and the VLAN 30, 20 and 30, and name marketing. Okay, for example these are the VLAN information for switch 1. Okay, so this is done. Now next thing, you can configure the VLAN detail on switch 2. So what is the process? So let me configure switch 2 as per the VLAN detail. So first of all I'm going to configure host name SW2, do write to save the configuration permanently, and VLAN 40, VLAN 40, enter name admin. You can type any name or leave it blank. Okay, and next one is VLAN 50, and enter name, for example sales, enter, and exit. Now the configuration has done. Okay, next thing I'm going to configure the VLAN for switch 3. So this is switch 3, and first of all I'm going to configure the host name, which is SW3, do write to save the configuration, and VLAN 3 name admin, like instead of admin I'm going to configure XYZ, and VLAN 4 name ABC. You can type any department name. Okay, for example in your company maybe there are 10 department, 20 department, more than this or less than this, so you can configure as per the department. This is the switching concept basically. Okay, and you can learn the same thing in CCNA and CCNP. In my live class you will get more exposure about these all protocols. Okay, so if you want to join, so please WhatsApp on given number, and definitely you can talk to with our counseling team to get more detail about our live batches. Okay, so here you can see this is the complete configuration about VLAN on switch 1, switch 2 and switch 3. Next thing, I'm going to configure the switch port. But before switch port configuration, it is very important to configure instances and revision. Okay, so on switch 1 I'm going to configure instances like MST1, okay, for VLAN 2030 with revision 1. Okay, and there is 3 instances basically: instance 1, instance 2, instance 3. Okay, and I'm going to configure all 3 instances on each switches. Okay, this is the lab environment. So this is switch 1 and I'm going to configure spanning tree, okay, space mode and MST, enter, and then spanning tree, MST configuration, enter, and then you can type the name. Okay, so first of all I'm going to configure the name, which is CCNA. For example, you can type any name, CCNA reason, and enter, and I'm going to configure revision. You can choose any number in between 0 to 65535. So okay, so I'm going to use 1. Okay, done. And the next thing is I'm going to select, and same configuration I'm going to configure on switch 2, switch 3, but let me add the instances. Okay, for example, I'm going to add instance 1, okay, for VLAN 20 and 30. So VLAN 20 comma 30, okay, enter. And I'm going to configure instance 2, for example, instance 2 for switch 2 or MST instance 2. So switch 2 support VLAN 40 comma 50, and I'm going to configure same instance VLAN 3 for VLAN 3 and 4. Yes, done. So first of all, we have done switch 1 configuration with instances. Okay, so this is the first thing you need to do on every switches, and this is switch 2. So how to configure switch 2? So for example, I'm going to configure same thing on switch 2 and in MST instance 2 for VLAN 40 and 50. So for this I'm going to configure spanning tree and mode MST. First of all, we need to enable the MST multi-spanning tree or multi-spanning tree protocol, and then spanning tree and MST configuration, enter. In MST configuration, I'm going to configure the name, which is CCNA. I'm going to use same name like reason, and there is only one reason, so you can type reason 1, reason 2, whatever, you can choose any name. Okay, in my case I'm choosing CCNA reason. Okay, and just hit enter. And next thing, I'm going to configure the revision, and the revision number. What about or what is the revision number, and how to add the revision and instances on switch 2. So you can just type the question mark and you can see the configuration revision number. So you can put any number. Okay, but I'm going to configure revision 1. Okay, so revision number is 1 and enter. This is for switch 2. And after revision number, I'm going to add the instance, and the instance 1 is equal to VLAN and 20 30, enter. And then instance 2 for VLAN 40 comma 50, and instance 3 for VLAN 3 and 4. Okay, done. Then exit. The configuration of instances and region number have done. Now I'm going to configure the same thing on switch 3. Okay, so this is switch 3, and yes, on configuration mode you can just configure spanning tree mode MST, and spanning tree MST configuration, and then name should be same, CCNA reason. Okay, sorry, CCNA instead of CCNA reason, let me remove this one, and let me add as a CCNA dash region. Okay, enter. And then revision 1, enter. And then instance 1 for VLAN 20 and 30, and instance 2 for VLAN 40 and 50, and instance 3 for VLAN 3 and 4. Okay, done. So the all configuration has done for instances and region number. Now next thing we need to configure the port priority. Okay, or we can say that every particular in MSTP protocol, I'm going to configure the root for MST1, okay, and the root for MST2 and the root for MST3. So what is the possibilities and how to configure it? Okay, so first of all, you can start from switch 1, and I'm going to assign root bridge for load balancing, है ना, root bridge for load balancing. So each and every switch has their own root for MST1 and as per MST2 and MST3. Okay, so just let me exit from the configuration mode, and I'm going to configure the spanning tree and MST1. It is for MST1 for switch 1. Okay, so MST1, and then priority 4096, and enter. This particular command for root for MST1. Okay, and the next one is I'm going to configure the spanning tree and MST2 for MST instance 2 and MST instance 2, and the priority is 4096, enter. For root for MST2 or MST instance 2, and the last one is spanning tree exit, then spanning tree, enter, and then MST3 for instance 3, and priority is 4096, enter. Okay, so MST it is particular things configured for root bridge load balancing. Okay, and by default the priority is 32768. okay, that is very, very high priority, so you can configure with lower priority. Okay, because we must know, or we know that the priority decide to establish the like spanning tree election or spanning MSTP election. Okay, there is same election as per STP or MSTP. Okay, so there is no difference. Okay, so same theoretical part will happen over here. Okay, so the final or the last configuration, this is not a last configuration, but yes, I'm going to configure trunk link for all switches. Okay, it is very, very important to configure the trunk link for all switches, and the trunk link establish in between switches. Okay, enable trunk link so VLANs can pass MSTP BPDU with each other. Okay, because without BPDU it is not possible to elect as a root or bridge. Okay, so it is important to configure the trunk link for all switches. So I'm going to start from switch 1. Okay, so here you can see there is a interface E0/0 and switch port mode trunk, but yes, okay, no problem. Switch port trunk encapsulation .1q and switch port mode trunk. This is the simple command to enable the trunk, and after trunk you need to enable, okay, you need to enable switch port trunk allowed VLAN all. We need to allow for all VLAN. You can add manual entry like 20, 30, 40, 50, 3, 4. Either you can use all. Okay, all means every VLAN included with this command. Next thing is spanning tree, and then if you want to disable the port fast, so definitely you can, otherwise you can just enable the port fast. It is not mandatory, but yes, you can do this thing. Okay, and this is for Ethernet 0/0, right? So you can see E0/0, and same thing I'm going to configure for E0/1. Okay, so okay, 1 minute, exit interface space E0/1 and switch port and trunk encapsulation .1q. Either you can use .1q or use ISL, but already you know that what are the differences between .1q and ISL. Better is .1q because it is an open source and use only 4 bytes of header, okay, for every frame, so or for new inserted frame. But you can see .1q and then next one is switch port mode trunk, and switch port trunk, and allowed VLAN all. Okay, you can do same thing on switch 1, switch 2, switch 3. So I'm going to configure same thing on switch 2. So interface, okay, E0/0, and switch port trunk encapsulation .1q, enter. Switch port mode trunk, enter. And switch port and trunk allowed VLAN all. Okay, VLAN all, enter. Okay, done. It is for E0/1. Either you can choose E0/0, F0/0, G0/0, whatever. Okay, as per need and as per your availability, you can choose the command. I'm going to choose E0/1 for second interface for switch 2. Okay, and switch port trunk encapsulation .1q, enter. And switch port mode trunk, enter. And then switch port trunk allowed VLAN all, enter, and done. Okay, all configuration done for switch 2, and same configuration we need to configure on switch 3. So it is like E0/0 switch port trunk encapsulation .1q, enter. Switch port mode trunk, enter. And switch port trunk allowed VLAN all, enter, and done. Interface space E0/1. This is the last interface for switch 3. And switch port trunk encapsulation .1q, enter. And then switch port mode trunk to enable the trunk mode on this particular interface. And yes, you can use switch port and trunk and allowed and VLAN all. Okay, done. So this is the configuration for MSTP with 3 instances. Okay, and I have done the 3 instances configuration for switch 1, switch 2, switch 3, and already we have done like trunk port and load balancing. So I think everything done. Now you can check the result, like what is the result and whatever. So space is spanning tree, and you can see there is MSTP. Okay, this is the command where you can see this is the MSTP, multi-spanning tree protocol. Okay, and rest of things you can see that every other all other details are same, like the hello timer is 2 second, delay timer is 15 second, and the maximum edge timer is 20 second. Either you can modify the timers also. Already we have done multiples of labs in CCNA labs while configuration of spanning tree protocol. You can watch more video in our on our channel with playlist. Okay, and if you want to join our live batch, please WhatsApp for more details. Okay, and yes, these are the details. You can see all port are designated and forwarded. And yes, you can check same thing on switch 2. So space is spanning tree, and here you can see MSTP, and you can see root designated. Okay, and other things you can check same thing on switch 3. So space is spanning tree, enter, and you can see root alternate designated and designated. What is the meaning of alternate? This is the it may be the interview part. Okay, or it may be asked by interviewer what is the meaning of alternate and blocking port. Okay, and or disabled port. So there are big difference of blocking or alternate port. Okay, blocking in simple way you can say that the blocking port take more time for adjacencies, okay, or for reestablish the connection, but alternate modify the quick revision, okay, or maintain the quick adjacencies. Okay, so let me show other details. So space is spanning tree and MST and configuration. What about MST configuration? So you can see there is MST configuration. It may be in instance 0 you can see 1 2 5. This is the default. Okay, no need to modify to learn about the default and all, right? You can ignore this, and you can see instance 1, instance 2 or MST3. Okay, And same thing you can check on another switch. Let me check the same details on next switch, which is show space spanning tree and MST and configuration, and you can see all updates over here. And next thing you can check same thing on show space spanning tree, MST and configuration, other things you can see. And also you can check services instead of configuration. You can check services, sorry, details. Okay, instead of services you can just type details, enter. So these are the details for MST. Okay, so you can see MST3 VLAN mapped 3 to 4, and the bridge address is this, and route this switch for MST3. ये particular you can see this is the route for MST3. And what will the details for or what are the details for this switch? So space spanning tree, okay, show space spanning tree and MST details, and you can see route this switch for this is the route switch for MST2. Okay, and same thing you can see show space spanning tree and MST details, and yes, this is the last update where you can see this switch for MST1. Okay, this switch is route for MST1. Next thing you can check more details like show space spanning tree, MST only, and you can see what about MST details. Okay, you can check the connected port and all details. Okay, and there is designated port. So on route switch, okay, it will happen. So this is the configuration of MSTP or multi-spanning tree protocol. You can configure same things. If you want to download the topology and the configuration about this lab, so you can check our, or you can check my Instagram, and not Instagram, you can just download it from my Telegram channel, which is Seekho Live IT Education. Okay, I uploaded multiples of PDF and all. Okay, and one more thing, if you want to join our live CCNA batch or CCNP and RC or cyber security or any other batches, you can just WhatsApp on given number, and you will get up to 60% discount on CCNA, CCNP, MCSA or cyber security or other courses. Okay, so see you in next video. Thank you so much. Bye.